Hey guys, this is RyGuyGaming here today, back with another video. Today we are going to be playing RuneScape Classic. How might I be doing this, you might ask? Well, today we are going to be playing on a private server called Open RSC, which does its best to preserve RuneScape Classic with just some minor quality of life improvements. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on in here and skip over the login screen so y'all can't guess my password. But anyways, here we are on Tutorial Island. If you notice your screen is fuzzy like this, just hit F1. For some reason this game had a low detail mode, believe it or not, and F1 switches between high detail and low detail, and it'll get rid of those scan lines for you. But anyways, so we're gonna go ahead and talk to this NPC here, and she's just going to get us started and help us on and teach us how to talk to people and everything. And so yeah, we're just going to, pretty much for this episode, we're just going to head through Tutorial Island, and then in the next episode we'll maybe do some noob quests. Just so you know, I am recording this after the fact. I have already done a lot of stuff on RuneScape Classic, and I have actually not recorded everything I've done. I've made a second character so that I can go back and record some quests that I didn't manage to get footage for. And I won't be showing everything I do, of course, because RuneScape can be a pretty grindy game. But here we are talking to the controls guy. He just tells you how to do stuff. Like how to use your inventory and your map. The inventory and the map in this game is a lot different from RuneScape 2. In case you haven't noticed, it will open up when you mouse over it and then close when you mouse away. So it's not always open like it is in RuneScape 2 and 3, which I kind of like. It kind of leaves the game feeling a little more open, you know? You have the chat box down in the corner, but it will clear out quick, and you can pretty much have zero UI elements on the screen except the little bar up in the corner, and it looks pretty clean when you're just wandering around. So now we're gonna go ahead and get into some combat, and this is very different from RuneScape 2 and 3. You can see when I equip my weapons, they don't leave my inventory, they just stay in there and go red. So weapons actually take up inventory space, so you have 30 spaces in RuneScape Classic instead of the usual 28 you do on RuneScape 2 and 3. So now, I think I'm looking for the combat styles here because I couldn't remember how to swap them, like attack, defense, and strength, what you want to train when you fight people. Alrighty, so now we're gonna hop right into some combat. So the differences with combat here, you can see my combat style selection box popped up. But as you can see here, when I attack this rat, I actually get locked into combat. So I'm actually unable to run away for 3 turns of combat. So it's not like RuneScape 2 or 3 where you just kind of am able to run in and out of combat whenever you want. So basically, you want to make sure you don't get 3-hit by enemies or other players. Not that other players can attack you anywhere outside the wilderness, just like usual. But if you are PKing, that's usually a strategy, is to try to kill people in 3 hits. But anyways, we went ahead and killed the rat. You can see it just kind of dies with no fanfare, it just like disappears. Usually enemies will drop like bones and stuff, but because these are just training rats, they don't really drop anything for us, but that's okay because we don't really need anything right now. So basically this guy's just gonna talk to us a little bit more about fighting stuff, and then we're just going to carry on to the next part of the island. This is actually my first time doing Tutorial Island. When I did it on original RuneScape Classic, for some reason it just like skipped it for me. You can skip it on this too if you want, but I decided to go ahead and do it for the content. So now we're talking to the cooking instructor. So he just handed us a piece of meat and he's telling us to go and cook it. And if you've ever played RuneScape before, you'll know that whenever you do Tutorial Island and the first time you go to cook a piece of meat on the range, you burn it every single time. Or every time you do it for the first time, you burn it. So then you have to go be like, yo, I burnt it, dog. And he's like, nah, it's good. I got you. I'll give you another piece of meat. And so, sorry. And so he hands you another piece of meat to cook. And this time, you now nicely cook it. And so we're gonna go ahead and talk to the cook, and he'll basically say like, GG, good game. And then he'll say go ahead and go on to the next place. I think he tells you about like how eating heals you though, so yeah, here's my stats. I have 1 everything, which makes us a level 3. Alrighty, so now we are going to head up to the financial advisors, and these guys are just going to tell us how to make money. Basically, they tell you to trade with people. My recommendations for Open RSC is to either do mining or maybe fishing. Probably not fishing. Probably your best bet is to do mining and then just sell what you make with smithing to the shops. Unless you can do something like kill chickens or something and then trade with other players. So I guess depending on whether or not you want to trade with other players, it'll depend on how you make money. But usually, if you want to go solo, I find that selling things to the stores, especially like stuff that you've smithed, is the best way to go. But who knows? I don't know a lot. But of course, the best way to get rich is to sell to other players. Alrighty, so now we are going to go ahead and move on to the fishing instructor. So as this guy's name implies, it's his job to teach us all about fishing. And so we are going to talk to him and see how that works. Fishing in this game is pretty different than it is in RS2 and 3. So in this game, the fishing spots will actually remain constant, so you can sit at them forever and they'll never move like they do in the other 2 games. But there is a difference. When you go to fish, you can only cast out the net once per click. So it's not like you can just click and then sit there and fill up your whole inventory. As you see here, I click on the spot and I attempt to catch some fish. To attempt to catch some fish again, I have to click. So chances are you'll probably get an RSI like carpal tunnel trying to do this, but it's still very fun and rewarding. And you can always set up mouse keys if you're worried about your wrist getting arthritis, which is very likely to happen in this game. Not really. But anyways, so now he's telling us to go ahead and cook the shrimps on the fire, and so we will go ahead and attempt to do that. But of course, I'm going to burn them because my cooking level is only 1. And so now that we have some nicely cooked shrimp, we are just going to head on out of here. And now, after I get done looking at my stats again, because I was curious if you actually earned XP on Tutorial Island, I wasn't sure. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and talk to the mining instructor, who is this little dwarf right here. And so basically, the mining in this game is different. It's kind of like fishing, where you have to click on the rock for every swing. For now, I'll talk about that more later. But basically, another change is that the rocks also do not tell you what's in them. You have to right click and then prospect them to find out what's in them. So you will have to right click, see what's up, and then so it will have like tin ore, copper ore, and then you can go ahead and mine it. So now we are just grabbing a pickaxe from this guy so that we can go ahead and mine it. And then we will have to click on the rock, and when you click on a rock, you'll either get the ore or you'll only scratch the rock, which means you have to click on it again to try to get the ore again. As you can see here, this is the only time I think you get the "you failed to make any real impact" message. Usually it just tells you that you end up scratching it. But as you can see here, I'm just spam clicking, because for every time you see you swing your pick at the rock, I have to click. Alright, so now I have some tin ore. So as you can see there in my inventory, ore looks a little funny in this game, but that's okay. So now he's just going to tell us about copper ore and tin ore can be smelted together to make bronze, and then you can use a hammer on an anvil to make weapons and armor. And like I said before, that's probably the best way. You can make money early on by selling that stuff to shops. if you don't end up like selling your feathers or whatever to other players or anything else. So as you can see there, when I right click on this banker, he had a bank option. That's actually one of the quality of life improvements to Open RSC I was talking about. In the original, you would have to talk to the banker every time, and it's like a 3-prompt conversation. Like you would go up to him and they say like, how can I help you? And you'd say, I'd like to access my bank account, please. And then they'd say, certainly, sir. And then your bank would pop up. But in this game, you just have to right click and click bank. And it doesn't really like damage the integrity. It just saves like a little conversation. So I don't really mind that change. In fact, I don't really mind any of the changes in this game. They're all fairly reasonable in my opinion. So this is your bank. We'll talk about it more later, but basically that's where you keep stuff so you don't have to keep your inventory piled with stuff. So now we are talking to the quest advisor. He basically just tells you about quests. I think he gives you a hint to go talk to the Lumbridge chef, but I could be wrong. Basically, he just tells you about the quest menu so you can see what you're supposed to do. And you can look on the world map or on the wiki for the start locations of the quests. There's no like in-game quest information. You pretty much just have to go and, yeah, there he goes talking about the Lumbridge cook. But you pretty much have to go and start the quest. So in the old days, you pretty much just had to talk to every NPC you saw to see if they had a quest for you. So these dudes are the wilderness guys. I think they're supposed to kind of look like, you know, like PvPers, but not really. But basically they just say, watch out for the wilderness, because other people can kill you there, and pretty much all the monsters are aggressive. And we'll talk more about the wilderness later. I actually haven't ventured in there yet, but we'll go ahead one of these times and wander up in there and take a look around, and I'll talk about some stuff there. But basically this guy talks to you about dying. You lose everything except the 3 most valuable items you have. And so if you go into the wilderness, a lot of people will only bring 3 items so that if you die, you don't end up losing anything. But if you're skulled, you lose everything. But now to the magic constructor, and magic is definitely different in this game. I'll be able to show you a mechanic here. But basically, we're going to start off talking to this wizard, and he's gonna hand us some runes. So this is the magic menu. As you can see, all we have right now is Wind Strike. It's on the same menu as your prayers, and you can see how many runes are required by each spell. Runes can be pretty expensive in this game, but magic is fairly quick to train, so it's kind of a nice trade-off there. Alrighty, so now the wizard has given us some runes. You can see the spell is yellow now, which means we can cast it. So we're going to go ahead and try to cast some magic on the chickens. So basically you have to go in here, click on the spell, and then click on the enemy you want to attack, and then you shoot at them. Yes, you do have to go into your magic book every time. There is no auto cast in this game. On mobile, there's like a little menu that pops up where you can cast the spell a little quicker, but you basically have to click every single time you cast the spell. So basically we're just going to blast this chicken, but here you can see that my spell failed, and this is something unique to RuneScape Classic. So if your spell fails, you actually have to wait 20 seconds before you can cast another spell. And this seems like a nightmare, but it's actually not that bad, because for the most part, you probably aren't going to be using just mage at once. You're probably going to be using magic and melee at the same time, but I'll talk more about that in a later episode. Alrighty, so up next we are going to learn about another mechanic that is unique to RuneScape Classic. So we are going to be learning about fatigue. Basically, as you train skills, you'll have something increased called fatigue, which basically means that your guy gets tired, and this will go from 0 to 100%. Once it gets up to 100%, you won't be able to earn XP anymore, and so you either have to sleep in a bed like I just did, or you can get a sleeping bag and sleep in one of those. The beds are faster to lower your fatigue than the sleeping bag, But either way, you do have to do the little CAPTCHA. The fatigue system was actually implemented to combat bots, but eventually, and pretty quickly actually, the bots figured out how to just sleep for you. So it really didn't do anything to combat bots, but they left it in the game anyways. And so now we are talking to the community instructor. I think this guy basically just tells you about the website and how to trade with other people. You can trade with people, duel with people, and follow them, which basically means that you don't have to click as much to get around, so that's pretty nice. You will notice that there are 3 of every NPC on Tutorial Island. This is because only one player can talk to an NPC at a time. So in order to not have just a bunch of people standing around, there are some NPCs that are duplicated, like they used to duplicate quest NPCs on quest release days, so that you wouldn't have just a million people gathered around one quest NPC. Usually nowadays there's only 1 of every NPC though, except like bankers, and usually there's 2 shopkeepers and a couple shops, but Tutorial Island is really the only place where you'll see like obvious NPC duplication, besides bankers and like what I just said. Alright, so this guy's job is to just take us back to Lumbridge. And so we'll go ahead and hop on his boat and we'll get into Lumbridge. So this is where the game dumps you after Tutorial Island, right in the middle of Lumbridge. Back in the day there used to be tons of people here, because this is where you would go if you died. So if you die you'll end up here, but there's all the stuff I have from Tutorial Island. And I'm actually going to end off the video here with me pickpocketing this guy to train some thieving and get some gold so that I can start some quests. But I am going to just go ahead and hop right in here into doing some quests, but I'm going to be saving that for the next episode. So let me know what you guys would like to see with this. Let me know if you'd like to see all the quests, some of the quests. Let me know of any skills you'd like to see me train or how to train them. Let me know what you'd like me to talk about when it comes to mechanics. I'm really open for this. Maybe we can try some PvP on the PKing server. I'm really up for anything. But anyways, guys, I'm going to end it off here. Next time we'll do Cook's Assistant, and we'll also do Sheep Shearer, and probably a little bit more depending on time. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.